Welcome to the TEMSEA Leadership Coaching Calls, your direct connection to EMS leadership insights. Hosted by Phil Sanderson, a tenured paramedic, healthcare administrator, national speaker, senior leader, certified leadership trainer and coach, and certified compliance officer. These sessions bring real-world leadership challenges to the table. Join us live for interactive Q&A or catch the recordings on the TEMSEA YouTube channel. The leadership growth you need starts here.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this July the 4th, 2025, episode 16, mentoring call. I'm telling you, I'm so appreciative that each and every one of you got up this morning on your day off. I'm sure that you could have just enjoyed an extra hour or so of sleep, but thank you for joining. I'm certain you're not going to be disappointed. And we have a great guest here this morning. She's got some great information to share. So thank y'all for joining. As always, we do this call every month, the first Friday of the month, because the most important person you'll ever lead is yourself. Shannon.
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
I am great. Happy 4th of July.
Yes, happy 4th of July. And again, just very excited about what you're going to talk about today. And you've got a great story. And I just know that people are going to walk away from here with a very filled heart. And it's going to make them smile. It's going to start their day off right and their weekend. And we're super excited to get in here. So Shannon is our guest speaker today. I don't think she's a stranger to anyone, but she is Shannon Morphis. She is a paramedic, critical care. She is the EMS Relations Manager at Ascension St. Thomas. She has a lot of other accolades, and I'm going to let her tell a little bit more about herself. And if there's a few things that she doesn't mention, I'll make sure that we get those out there. And she's got a great topic this morning. We're going to talk about the impact of personal battles on professional purpose. So Shannon, tell us a little bit more about yourself and let's get started.
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me and thank you all for joining. First and foremost, I guess I'm a wife and a mother. I think that's my higher purpose, but I'm Shannon. I'm a critical care and community paramedic by trade. And patient care has always been really my passion. Been in healthcare 25 years, 21 of those in the pre-hospital realm. I'm currently the TEMSEA President, which I've been on the TEMSEA board for 15 years, as well as I am very honored to serve on the state EMS board and the state education committee. So that's a little bit about me.
Well, I'm going to add one more thing to that.
Okay.
Yes, Shannon is on the TEMSEA board. She's also the current TEMSEA president. But from a historical side, I think it's very worthy to say that Shannon is the second female president that TEMSEA's had. And I think that is it's a wonderful thing. I think that's something to be very proud of. So thank you for your service. And also thank you for your service on the EMS board as well. Shannon, you've got a really interesting topic today. Again, this is episode 16. We've had a lot of great speakers on here every month. I'm so excited when I leave here and very energized by what the guests bring. Yours is going to be a little different than probably some of the others in regards to the story and how you are have gotten to where you're at today when we talk about professional purpose based on some of your personal battles. So share some of those fires and the chaos and the adversities that have brought you to this place and let's start this journey.
All right. Well, I'm going to take you back to 2021. A lot of people don't want to go back to 2021 for the things that were happening then. But in May of 2021, I was diagnosed with HER2 positive breast cancer. And while that was probably challenging enough, I was 3 months into a new role at a new employer. I was serving as the TEMSEA Vice President at that time. And all of a sudden I had something looming over my head that made me have to refocus. I tell everybody I have always been healthy as a horse, except for this one little cancer diagnosis. And so I had just been, wandering through life, happy, healthy, thought I was on the right professional path. And so I was struck at that moment with, I wanted to make a good impression on the people that I was working for, I was working with. I was doing a lot of education and outreach but how do I make that good impression when I'm having surgery and going through chemo and losing my hair? Holy cow. I don't even look like the same person that they hired. So that was my first big hurdle, with having to completely rewrite what I thought about how I needed to be a good employee, be a good leader, be a good provider. And so that was my jumping off point, I like to say.
Yeah. So, Shannon, you're going to talk about this a little bit more in a minute, but, pretty much nobody really knew this. I mean, you had your circle, of course, but I remember being at the TEMSEA banquet when you announced this, and I was as lost as probably everybody else was, but I knew there was something going on, right? And of course, we've known you, we've been around you, and we've loved you for years, and we were all just like, we were like, okay, what's going on? What's going on with Shannon? The thing of it is, in our lives, in our leadership world, we have no clue what tomorrow brings. We have no clue what the next hour brings. But isn't it funny how now you're in a new leadership role? You're at a brand new organization. I mean, you as you said, you hadn't been there very long, and now you're diagnosed.
Right.
Hardships and difficulties have arrived on the scene for you in your life. And now you have no idea, but it's about to redefine your whole purpose. You're about to go down a path that you have no clue what to expect. And the outcome, your cancer journey has focused you to repurpose your energy toward what really matters now in life. So, as leaders and providers, do we ever really consider what we see? You and I had these conversations where people would come up to you and, like, I just mentioned, I didn't know you were sick. I didn't know that you were going through this until you basically announced that. So tell us about, do we ever consider what we see on the outside?
Well, and I'm going to illustrate this with a story, but I love the analogy of an iceberg. As leaders, as healthcare providers, we see just what's above the water. And I have learned that there is so much more to everyone's story. And to illustrate this, I want to tell you a quick story about myself. When I was diagnosed, May of 2021, the TEMSEA conference was July of 2021. And as everyone on this call probably knows, that's a very busy time. The conference week is very busy. There's no time to sit around and do anything other than work. And so I didn't tell. I told very, very few people. Of course, my closest family knew, but no one on TEMSEA knew. And I did that by design. So I go into the conference. I look healthy. I look like I always have. I have long hair. I have, I'm able to. I have most of my faculties, mental faculties, and I didn't look sick, but I was sick. Fast forward to July of 2022. I've gone through treatment. I've had surgery. I've lost all my hair. I've gone through chemo. And I look completely different. I looked sick. And there were so many people that didn't know that I was sick. And as those that have attended TEMSEA know, it's kind of a reunion once a year. A lot of us don't see each other except once a year. So I had a lot of people say, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea." Well, that's kind of the point. That was I didn't want people to feel sorry for me or treat me different. And I think what I learned from that is we never know the complete story that someone is going through. Everybody has something, whether it's a cancer journey or a personal battle or what to make for dinner. I mean, we're all, there's something that we're always struggling with. And as leaders, as providers, as human beings, do we look at someone else and go, okay, I see this much, you're telling me this much, but is there more? Um, and I think we really have to, sometimes we have to step back and go, okay, I see the tip of the iceberg, but I really need to consider there may be a lot more and than what I know. And that's why I share that story, because, and I share that story in classes um, for providers about patient assessment of all things. I'm like, what we see is just the tip of the iceberg. You really need to be a detective and dig down into different things to be able to know the whole story.
Yeah. So how many times do we as leaders have others that are around us, our teammates, and we see an outer appearance, we see an everyday thing going on that's very common, and we go, okay, everything's great, everything's fine,
Yeah.
but yet we have it all wrong. I love the analogy of the iceberg, and I think we see those pictures on the internet, where it has the iceberg and below and above. Those are really great illustrations, because it does have a lot of merit and meaning to it. People's external appearances rarely reflect their entire battle. I mean, we have no clue. There are people on this call here today that at the surface, we could all say everything's great, but deep down, we don't know what happened yesterday, last night, last year, what's about to happen in an hour from now. Leaders who can master the skill of being very, very I want to say non-judgmental, in the respect of not just saying, I think everything's okay in your world because I don't see anything different. But those who can definitely come to the table every single day, or come to the workplace every single day, or come into the circle of teams every single day and say, hey, how's it going? How how's things in your world? How's things in your life? And show that empathy, and recognize that there could be things beneath the surface that are going on. Imagine, Shannon, that if you had never told anybody about your your diagnosis,
Mhm.
and then you went through a whole year, and then again there were people who didn't know, but there were a lot of people who did.
Mhm.
Imagine how alone that would be. And and you being in a new role in your new organization, obviously they were very supportive of you, how great that was. And so that speaks a lot for great leaders. Now, tell us about leaders that don't always have the right answers. Sometimes that's a common mistake, because we as leaders, we sometimes we kind of get in our own little world, and we think, well, we know everything at the surface is good with Shannon or whoever, and we got all the answers because we've done this, we've got experience, we've got tenure, we've been in that position. Tell us your experience on that.
Well, I'm glad you asked, because as a younger leader, when I first came into leadership roles in EMS, it's so easy to say, oh, I can relate to that, because we can relate to a lot of different things, but every journey is different. Every professional journey is different. Every cancer journey, every health journey, every personal journey is different. So I caution people, and I had to learn this the hard way, don't ever say, I know what you're going through, because we don't. We think we do. Um, And I go back to my journey. Every breast cancer journey is different. If I meet someone that has had breast cancer, they did not go through what I did. I did not go through what they did. As a leader in EMS, what I went through is different than what anyone on this call went through. We all have personal and professional differences and little nuances in how we do things. And so don't ever tell people, I know what you're going through. I know how you feel. I caution people to not do that all the time. I'm like, don't ever say, I know how you feel. You have no idea how I feel. I have no idea how you feel. We can empathize with each other. And so when we say, how are you doing this morning, Phil? Listen, empathize, but don't go, you know what? I feel the exact same way, because we probably don't. And so that's the biggest lesson that I learned. We're all fighting a battle, and it may not be a big battle, but we're all fighting some sort of battle that we can't see. So empathize, talk, truly listen, and learn to not just assume that we know what that other person is going through. And I learned that the hard way.
Serve Strong Corbin Scott Good Memorial Foundation is proud to announce Corbin's Hometown Heroes 2025 Bash on October 4th, 2025 from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. at Fairfield Glade Community Center in Fairfield Glade, Crossville, Tennessee. You've never seen an event like this before. Tickets are limited and already being reserved because the demand is that high. 100% of the Hometown Heroes Bash will go directly to help first responders and their families. This incredible event will have an amazing buffet featuring barbecue chicken quarters, smoked sausage, pulled pork, soft drinks, beer, and wine for the first 2 hours, as well as a cash bar. And if that's not enough, there will also be an exciting live auction and a huge silent auction featuring worldwide vacations and once-in-a-lifetime experiences, autographed celebrity and sports memorabilia, designer jewelry, and handbags, as well as raffles giving away a wide variety of prizes. Do not miss your chance. Call your friends and secure your table of 8 now. Call Shannon McGee today for tickets and details at 931-260-1981. That's 931-260-1981, or visit servestrong.us. That's servestrong.us and click BASH. Serve Strong believes first responders are hometown heroes wherever they live. Come on out to Corbin's Hometown Heroes Bash event in Fairfield Glade, Crossville, Tennessee. Call 931-260-1981 or visit servestrong.us and click BASH.
And learn to not just assume that we know what that other person is going through. And I learned that the hard way.
Yeah. Assumptions can undermine true leadership.
Oh, yes.
Huge mistake by leaders.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, we're human beings. We can't change that, right? And as human beings, we're going to make these little mistakes. But I think what we as leaders have to do as we're growing in our journey and we're becoming better leaders is we have to stop and pause and think about for a minute that we don't know what you're going through. And listening, and we've had a lot of good previous speakers on here that has talked about listening. And one of the things that we've mentioned several times is just simply pause to allow that person to talk, and then maybe you don't have to say anything, you just listen and go on. So sometimes leaders we get into our own little world, and things are pressure on our shoulders, and then we're being pressured to push someone else, and people that are on our team, our teammates, can come into our circle, and then they can bring their problems, and then we want to assume that we know what they're going through and say, hey, you're going to be just fine. I caution leaders from that. I caution leaders to just stop for a moment and say, I don't really know, let me hear more about that, and show that you care about them. That teammates will go to the end of the road for you if you could just spend that time with them.
Yes,
absolutely, because you don't know what they're going through. Struggles create connections. Realizing that everyone struggles with something, whether personal or professional, can help leaders relate and better support their teams. Everybody goes through them. So tell us about any struggles that that helped you to create any connections.
Well, I am, and this is my vulnerable moment. When you asked me to do this, I told you, I was like, Phil, I don't have anything I can add to a leadership mentoring call, and you convinced me otherwise. But I struggled for years on how to lead. I came up through the ranks, as many people did, from paramedic to training officer. And so moving into leadership roles when I was just one of the guys was a real struggle for me. And I learned, much like you just said, I was still struggling with the same thing that my teammates were, except they may be struggling with how to do a skill or how to run a scene. Well, I was struggling on a different level, but we could meet midway down that road and say, hey, we both have struggles. And I could relate to them because we are all struggling with something. I struggled with my confidence to lead for years and years, still do to this day. There are times I'm like, why am I here? Who drew the short straw for me to lead this project? But we can all relate on some level. And if you truly go into something going, I can relate to all these folks, regardless of level of licensure, level of age, level of experience, we can all relate as people. And we don't have to always go in with our full leadership regalia on. We can go in as people and go, okay, we're a team first and foremost. And I'm going to stand with you, and we're going to relate to each other, and we're going to push on like that.
Yes, and you have a lot to be proud of, and we're, Shannon, I told you we're going to get to the bottom of this and not even get to everything you want to talk about. We are at 20 after, so if you have any questions, please go ahead and put those in the chat. We'll be sure and get those answered. But Shannon, you have a lot to be proud of. You field paramedic. You as you say, gone up through the ranks. You've held various positions in the field, and supervisor and manager, and then you came across this diagnosis, and you've come out the other side with even more accolades. Working for a large healthcare system. You're the TEMSEA Association President. You serve on the state Tennessee EMS board. Shannon, I want you to think for a moment. I'm going to challenge you now. Now, folks, she doesn't know I'm going to do this, right?
Well,
This is going to be a surprise. I want you to pause for just one moment, Shannon,
okay.
and just think about how many people in the state of Tennessee will have the opportunity to serve as the president for the TEMSEA Association. And how many people in the state of Tennessee will have the opportunity to serve on the state EMS board? Do you know? I'm going to, we don't have the statistical stats on that right here, but I can tell you it's a very small percentage. So you're there. You have so much to be proud of. And, your battle has brought you, and who knows where it's going to carry you from here. So always keep your head high.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's look here to see if we got any questions in the chat here, and see if not, we got more to share. So Shannon, while we're looking for some questions, you got any funny stories to tell us?
Well, it's funny to me. I don't think anybody else will find it funny, but I've got to tell you. So in the spring of 2022, I'd gone through chemo. I'd had my surgery. My hair was just a little bit longer than yours, Phil. I could pinch it. I had finally gotten enough confidence to take my head cover off because I had enough hair that I wasn't completely slick bald. And the first class I coordinated was our community paramedic class. And so my medical director was there presenting one day, and we were breaking for lunch, and we were sitting there and having a conversation, and just out of the blue, he looks at me and he says, "I really like your edgy look." He thought I had shaved my head to look edgy. Now, Phil, I'm a lot of things, and I've been called a lot of things, but edgy has never been one of them. And I laughed. He had no idea, because he's a fantastic guy, but he had no idea I had cancer. He had no idea I had chemo. He thought I had chosen this look. And so now, 4 years later, I'm like, "Hey, doc, I'm not near as edgy as I used to be." But I think he was a little bit embarrassed. And he actually talked to my director after that and said, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea. I'm so sorry." And I thought it was hilarious. But so that's one more thing I have on my resume is I'm edgy. So
I love it. I love it. I love it. That's a great story. Great story. I do want to read a comment here that's in the chat. It says, "I can attest to President Morphis' leadership style. She is very open-minded to the why behind people's actions." Shannon, that's a great comment, because many leaders just don't care. So that's good that you definitely are open to that. She does not simply respond to their actions or inactions. She does her best to understand and see the entire story before responding. What a great testimony to your leadership right there, Shannon. That's master skill right there. There are leaders who are in some of the highest positions in organizations across this nation that have no clue what that right there even looks like. So thank you for that. Thank you for that comment. Let's see if we have some more here. We have a comment here. Any advice to upcoming leaders who have trouble pausing and considering there is something deeper going on with their coworkers?
That's a great question. And I struggle with this more on some days than others. I think we all get so busy and so wrapped up sometimes in our vision or what we're doing that pausing for anything is very, very difficult. I have learned that sometimes I have to walk away from something. There are times that that I have to either literally or figuratively take a breath, whether that means getting up from a meeting or walking around or taking a breath or taking a drink of water or something. So because I have always been one that responded quickly and usually with emotion. And I've had to learn that more often than not, that's not the best way to respond. That's not the best way. So as far as advice, I would say learn to breathe through things, learn to take a moment to pause. Because for many years, and occasionally I'll catch myself doing it now. And my director and I laugh because you can read everything on my face. I can't play poker because I will respond immediately. So I have had to just really learn that if I don't pause, that doesn't elicit the best response from those people that I'm dealing with. So always pause.
Definitely believe in pausing. Well, Shannon, that's our producer Lee back there telling us we got to get 2 minutes to wrap up. This has been a great call. A lot of good points that you brought out, to just reflection upon you as a person, you as a leader. I think it'd be a great quote for today, especially being July the 4th, to kind of, as we wrap this up. George Washington said, "Associate with men of good quality if you esteem your own reputation, for it is better to be alone than in bad company." And Shannon, you're good company. Good company. And everybody on this call is good. 5 quick takeaways here, folks. Number 1, adversity can redefine purpose. Number 2, What we see in others is only the tip of the iceberg, and assumptions can undermine true leadership. Number 4, shared struggles create connection. And number 5, humor. Edgy, right? Humor and perspective are powerful tools. Thank you all for joining this morning. I know you had a choice to sleep in or get up, but join us next month. And we do this thing every single month because the most important person you ever lead is yourself. Have a wonderful 4th of July. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, everybody, for joining. And I hope you have a blessed weekend. See you next month.